chapter is short. Avarice. I love how he describes it in the very beginning. Avarice, is greediness. Avarice, he says, is a worship of idols and is the offspring of unbelief. It makes excuses for infirmity and is the mouthpiece of old age. It is the prophet of hunger and the herald of drought. And basically, because the person who is avarice, the person who loves money, has a lack of faith in the fact that God gives us everything we need in due time. And he says in a little later, says, "Do not say that you are interested in money for the sake of the poor, for 2 mites, for 2 mites were." That's not right. That's not the translation I heard. 2 mites were sufficient to purchase the kingdom. For 2 mites were sufficient to purchase the kingdom, meaning the 2 mites of the woman. So you don't need a lot of money, and the poor don't need a lot of money. The poor, we all need the kingdom of God. A generous man met a miser, and the miser said the other man was without discernment. The man who is conquered by this vice has cut out care, but the man trapped by it can never pray freely to God. And he says the pretext of almsgiving is the start of avarice, but it finishes by not caring for the poor. The rich person basically says, I want to be rich so I can give to the poor. And by the time that person becomes rich, they don't care about the poor anymore. This is, and this is also said by St. Paul, the love of money is the root of all evil. The love of money is the root of all evil. So in these steps, this one has to be cut out pretty quickly. But poverty, which in our sense, this is step 17, poverty is something that we can all take on a little bit to some extent. It's this idea of everything is God's, and I offer up everything to God, and I'm going to live as if, this is a gift from God to me, but I don't deserve it. It's not something I've earned. And I'm giving it up for the sake of the kingdom. So there are people that there's a period of time, in your lives, and I think more among those who are younger than older. So you figure out whether you're young or old. But there's this period of time where you can give and give freely, not worrying. You can give because you don't have a lot of responsibilities or liabilities. You can give a person, and say, God, take care of me for the rest of the day. And I've seen people do this. They say, Abuna, I gave away all my money. The first person I saw, poor person I saw in the morning. And I said to God, take care of me for the rest of the day. And God sent me food. God, everything I needed was taken care of that day. And St. Basil says to us, was it St. Basil? Yeah, or St. John Chrysostom. Um, says when you give to God, you're lending to the poor. When you give to the poor, you're lending to God, and God will repay. And that's something about poverty. Poverty is like not literally poor, although some of us might find ourselves literally poor. But it's not about literally being poor, but it's about freeing your mind from what you have as if it was your own, but it's actually in God's service.